I was at my workbench in the garage, sanding down a rocking horse I'd been building for my granddaughter Emma, when my phone buzzed. Jessica's name lit up the screen, and I smiled. My daughter and I had always been close, especially after her mother passed 6 years ago. I wiped the sawdust off my hands and opened the message. "Dad, I need to talk to you about the wedding." My smile widened. Jessica and Marcus were getting married in 3 months at a resort in Maui, and I'd been looking forward to it since they'd announced it last year. I'd even paid the $75,000 deposit when they'd mentioned having trouble with the initial costs. "Of course we'll pay you back, Dad," Jessica had promised. "Marcus's promotion is coming through any day now." I called her immediately. "Hey, sweetheart, what's up? Need help with something?" There was a pause. "Actually, Dad, I wanted to talk about the guest list." "Sure, honey. Your brother David and his family are confirmed, and I've got my flight booked. Is this about seating arrangements?" Another pause, longer this time. "Dad, the thing is, Marcus and I have been talking, and we've decided to make the ceremony itself more intimate. Just us and the officiant. Adults only. Very private." I stopped moving. The sandpaper hung loose in my hand. "Adults only?" Jessica, Emma's 7. She was so excited to be flower girl. "I know, Dad, but Marcus thinks." She stopped herself. "We think it would be more meaningful this way. Just the two of us exchanging vows. You understand, right? You and David can come to the reception afterward." Something cold settled in my stomach. "Jessica, I paid for this wedding. $75,000. You told me it was your dream to have family there. And you will be there, Dad, at the reception. Look, Marcus's parents understand. They're not making a fuss about it. His parents live in Maui, Jessica. They can see you anytime. I'm flying 6,000 miles to watch my only daughter get married." Her voice got tight. "Dad, please don't make this difficult. It's our wedding, our choice. I thought you'd be supportive." I sat down on my work stool, feeling like I'd been punched. "How long have you been planning this?" "We just decided yesterday. Marcus said it would be more elegant, more sophisticated. A real destination wedding should be exclusive." Marcus. Everything lately was what Marcus wanted, what Marcus thought, what Marcus said. "Jessica, do you remember what you told me when you first got engaged? You said you wanted me to walk you down the aisle because Mom couldn't. You said, that was before we really thought about the aesthetic we're going for, Dad. Please try to understand. This is about creating the perfect atmosphere." I closed my eyes. "I need to go. We'll talk about this later." "Dad, don't be upset. You're still invited to everything else. The welcome dinner, the reception, the farewell brunch. Just not the actual ceremony. It's only 30 minutes. Goodbye, Jessica." I hung up and sat there in the silence of my garage, surrounded by half-finished projects and the smell of wood shavings. The rocking horse stared at me with its painted eyes. I'd promised Emma I'd have it done before the wedding. That night, I called my son David. He lived 2 hours away with his wife Lauren and their twin boys. "Dad, hey. We were just talking about you. Lauren wants to know if you need us to pick you up for the airport next month." "David, have you talked to your sister lately?" His tone changed immediately. "What happened?" I told him everything. When I finished, there was a long silence. "You've got to be kidding me," David finally said. "After you paid for the whole thing?" "Dad, that's insane." "She says it's what Marcus wants. More elegant. Marcus is a pretentious piece of work, Dad. I've been saying this since they started dating. Remember when he corrected your pronunciation at Thanksgiving? Actually, Richard, it's pronounced." David's impression of Marcus's condescending tone was spot on. Despite everything, I almost smiled. He does do that. "This is worse than pronunciation, Dad. This is your daughter's wedding, your money, your right to be there." David paused. "Have you thought about talking to her again? Maybe she didn't really understand what she was saying." "I think she understood perfectly. She said his parents aren't making a fuss. His parents are loaded and live on the island. They probably don't care. Dad, you need to put your foot down. This isn't right." After we hung up, I sat in my recliner and thought about the past 2 years since Jessica had met Marcus. He worked in finance, wore expensive suits, and talked constantly about networking and building his brand. He'd proposed to Jessica at some fancy restaurant in Chicago with a ring that cost more than my first car. At the time, I'd thought he was just young and ambitious. Now, I wasn't so sure. The next morning, I decided to drive to Chicago to talk to Jessica in person. It was a 3-hour drive from my house in Springfield, but this conversation needed to happen face to face. I knocked on their apartment door around noon. Jessica answered, looking surprised and a little guilty. "Dad, I wasn't expecting you. Can I come in?" She hesitated, then stepped aside. Their apartment was decorated like a magazine, spread all white furniture and abstract art. Nothing comfortable or lived in. Marcus was at the dining table with his laptop, wearing a dress shirt, even though it was Saturday. "Richard," he said, not standing up. "To what do we owe the pleasure?" I ignored him and looked at Jessica. "Honey, can we talk? Just us?" Marcus closed his laptop with a sharp click. "Whatever you need to say to my fiancé, you can say in front of me. We're a unit now." I kept my eyes on Jessica. "When did you become too embarrassed to have your father at your wedding?" Her face flushed. "Dad, it's not about embarrassment." "Then what is it about?" "Because I can't think of any other reason to exclude your family from the ceremony." Marcus stood up. "This is exactly the kind of emotional manipulation I warned you about, Jess. He's trying to guilt you." I turned to him slowly. "Excuse me? You heard me. You're using classic guilt tactics to control Jessica's decision-making. This is our wedding, and we have the right to structure it however we see fit. A wedding I paid for, and we're grateful for your generosity," Marcus said smoothly. "Which is why you're invited to all the other events. The ceremony itself is a private, spiritual moment. Surely you can respect that." "Marcus, I paid $75,000, which we're planning to pay back once my bonus comes through in Q4. But that doesn't give you ownership of our wedding day. This is about respect for boundaries." Jessica was standing between us, looking miserable. "Dad, please, can we not fight about this?" "We're not fighting, sweetheart. I'm trying to understand why you'd want to exclude me from the most important 30 minutes of the day." "It's not about excluding you," she said quietly. "It's about the vision we have for the ceremony. Small, intimate, just us. You can be there for everything else." "And Emma?" "Emma will be at the reception. She can still wear her dress." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She'd lost weight. There were circles under her eyes. She wasn't meeting my gaze. "Jessica, is this really what you want?" "Not what Marcus wants. What you want." She glanced at Marcus, then back at me. "Yes, Dad. It's what I want." I nodded slowly. "All right. If this is what you want, I won't fight you on it. But I need you to know something. When your mother and I got married, we had maybe 50 people there. Half of them were family we hadn't seen in years. Some we weren't even that close to. But you know what? Having them there mattered. It mattered because marriage isn't just about two people making promises. It's about community. It's about the people who love you, witnessing you make those promises and agreeing to support you in keeping them. How very traditional," Marcus said. "But we're creating our own traditions." I didn't take my eyes off Jessica. "If you want to exclude me from the ceremony, that's your choice. But I won't pretend it doesn't hurt, and I won't pretend it doesn't change things between us." I left before either of them could respond. The drive home was long. I kept replaying the conversation, trying to figure out where things had gone so wrong. Jessica and I used to talk about everything. Now it felt like there was a wall between us, and Marcus was on the other side, whispering in her ear. When I got home, I found David sitting on my porch. "Lauren kicked me out for a few hours so I could check on you," he said. "She sends her love and also says she always knew Marcus was a snake." I unlocked the door, and we went inside. "What am I supposed to do, David? I can't force her to want me there." "No, but you can stop funding their delusion." David pulled out his phone. "Dad, I did some digging. Do you know how much Marcus actually makes?" "He's in finance, some analyst position. $65,000 a year. He's not some big shot. He's an entry-level analyst at a mid-tier firm. All that talk about bonuses and promotions? I checked with a friend who works in the industry. His company doesn't do Q4 bonuses. And they definitely don't give them to analysts who've been there less than 2 years. I sat down heavily. He's been lying about his income, his prospects, probably about paying you back. Dad, he's using your money to look successful, and he's convinced Jessica that this is normal. I thought about the apartment, the clothes, the ring, the wedding, a $75,000 wedding they can't afford and have no intention of paying for. Dad, you need to protect yourself. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what David had said. Around 2 in the morning, I got up and went to my computer. I pulled up my email and started looking through old messages from Jessica. What I found made my blood run cold. There was a forwarded email thread from 3 months ago that Jessica had accidentally included when sending me the venue information. In it, she was talking to one of her friends about the wedding planning. Jessica, Marcus says my dad is too Midwest for the aesthetic. He wants the ceremony to be elegant people only. Friend, Jess, that's your DAD. Jessica, I know, but Marcus says his colleagues are coming and we need to make the right impression. Dad can come to the reception, but the ceremony is networking opportunity. Friend, this seems wrong. Jessica, Marcus says this is how high society weddings work. Parents usually aren't at the ceremony. It's a European thing. I sat back, feeling sick. It wasn't about intimacy. It wasn't about vision. Marcus was embarrassed by me, and Jessica was going along with it. I forwarded the email to David, then sat in the dark of my office, trying to decide what to do. The next morning, David called. I saw it. Dad, this is worse than I thought. He's not just using your money. He's erasing you. What should I do? Talk to a lawyer. That money was given with the understanding you'd be part of the wedding. If they're excluding you, I'd argue they're not fulfilling their end of the agreement. I made an appointment with Tom Chen, a lawyer I'd known for 20 years. He listened to everything, took notes, and then sat back. Richard, legally, gift money is difficult to reclaim, but we can make a case that this was conditional funding based on verbal agreements that have been violated. More importantly, we can prevent them from using your credit. My credit? Tom pulled out a file. Your daughter listed you as a guarantor for the venue charges. If they can't pay, the resort comes after you. You need to remove yourself from that liability immediately. I hadn't known about the guarantor status. I felt my hands start to shake. How do I do that? I'll draft a letter to the resort. But Richard, you need to be prepared for fallout. If you pull funding and remove yourself as guarantor, their wedding as planned won't happen. I thought about Jessica's face in their apartment, the weight loss, the circles, the way she looked at Marcus before answering any question. Do it, I said. The letter went out that afternoon. By evening, I got a call from the resort manager. Mr. Patterson, we've received notice that you're withdrawing as guarantor. I need to inform you that without your guarantee, we'll need full payment from the couple within 72 hours, or we'll have to cancel the booking. I understand. Sir, this wedding is in 10 weeks. That's very short notice for them, too. I understand, I repeated. Thank you for calling. I hung up and waited. The call from Jessica came an hour later. She was crying. Dad, what did you do? The resort called Marcus. They're demanding $75,000 in 3 days, or they're canceling everything. Dad, the wedding is in 10 weeks. I'm aware. How could you do this? This is my wedding. You're trying to ruin it because you're upset about not being at the ceremony? Something in me hardened. Jessica, I found the email. The one where you told your friend I'm too Midwest for Marcus's aesthetic. Where you said the ceremony is a networking opportunity. Silence. So no, I'm not upset about missing the ceremony. I'm upset that my daughter is embarrassed by me, that she and her fiancé are using my money to impress people while excluding me for not being elegant enough. Dad, I didn't mean it wasn't. Do you know what Marcus really makes? Jessica. $65,000 a year. There is no Q4 bonus. There is no promotion. He's been lying to you, and you've been lying to me, and I'm done funding it. Dad, please. We can't afford this wedding without you. Everything's already booked. The flowers, the photographer, my dress. Then maybe you should have thought about that before deciding I wasn't sophisticated enough to watch you get married. That's not fair. You're right. It's not fair. It's not fair that I paid for your college so you wouldn't have debt. It's not fair that I gave you the down payment for your condo when you lived alone. It's not fair that I've been your ATM while your fiancé has been ashamed of where I'm from and how I talk. None of it is fair, Jessica. I could hear Marcus in the background, his voice sharp and angry. Dad, Marcus says you're being manipulative and controlling. Tell Marcus that I'm being a man with boundaries. And my boundary is that I won't fund a wedding that treats me like an embarrassment. I hung up. The next 2 days were hell. Jessica called 17 times. I didn't answer. Marcus called from Jessica's phone, and I blocked the number. Jessica showed up at my house, but I didn't open the door. Through the window, I could see her crying on the porch, and it took everything in me not to give in. David came over that second night and found me sitting in the dark. I did the right thing, didn't I? I asked him. Yeah, Dad, you did. She needs to wake up and see what Marcus really is. But what if I lose her? David sat down next to me. You already lost her. To him, this is about getting her back. On the third day, the resort deadline passed. That evening, I got an email from Jessica's friend Sarah, the one from the forwarded thread. Mr. Patterson, I don't know if you remember me, but I was Jessica's roommate in college. I wanted you to know that I've been worried about her for months. Marcus controls everything, what she wears, who she sees, how she spends money. When she told me about excluding you from the ceremony, I told her it was wrong. She cried and said Marcus convinced her it was normal. I think she needs help, but she won't listen to me. I thought you should know. I read it 3 times, then called Tom Chen. Tom, I need to know about parental rights when your adult child is in a controlling relationship. Richard, Jessica is 35. Legally, there's nothing. I'm not talking about legal force. I'm talking about intervention. What can I do? We talked for an hour. Tom gave me the name of a therapist who specialized in family dynamics and controlling relationships. The next morning, I drove back to Chicago. This time, I waited in the coffee shop across from Jessica's office building. I knew she took lunch at 12:30. When she came out, alone for once, I intercepted her. Jessica, please, just 5 minutes. She looked terrible. Her eyes were red and swollen. Dad, I can't. Marcus said I shouldn't talk to you until you apologize. I'm not going to apologize for having boundaries. But I am going to tell you something. I handed her an envelope. This is information about a therapist. She specializes in helping people in relationships where they might be losing themselves. Jessica's hands trembled as she took it. You think I need therapy because I'm marrying Marcus? I think you need therapy because you're not yourself anymore, honey. You've lost weight. You're anxious all the time. You look at Marcus before answering simple questions, and you're willing to exclude your family to please him. Tears started running down her face. Dad, I love him. I know you do. But love shouldn't make you smaller. It shouldn't make you choose between your partner and your family. It shouldn't make you lie about who you are or where you come from. He says, you're trying to control me, that you can't stand that I'm making my own choices. Is it your choice, Jessica? Really? Or is it his choice that you've learned to call your own? She didn't answer. She just stood there, crying, holding the envelope. I love you, I said. Nothing will change that. But I won't watch you disappear into someone else's idea of who you should be. When you're ready to talk, really talk, without Marcus there, call me. I walked away before I started crying too. That weekend, David's family came over for dinner. Emma asked when we were going to Hawaii to see Aunt Jessica get married. I don't think we're going to Hawaii, sweetheart, I said gently. Why not? You promised I could swim in the ocean. Sometimes plans change. David gave me a look that said he'd explain later. Emma pouted but got distracted when I showed her the finished rocking horse. Is this for me, Grandpa? It is. An early birthday present. She climbed on and started rocking, delighted. Watching her, I felt the weight of the past week settle over me. Had I done the right thing? Or had I just driven my daughter further into Marcus's control? 3 weeks went by. I threw myself into work at the community center, where I volunteered teaching woodworking to high school kids. I built a bookshelf for the church. I visited David's family every weekend. I did everything I could to not think about Jessica. Then, on a Tuesday evening, there was a knock at my door. Jessica stood there, holding 2 suitcases. "Can I come home, Dad?" I pulled her inside and held her while she sobbed. Eventually, we sat at the kitchen table, and she told me everything. "The wedding was canceled," she said. "When you pulled funding, Marcus was furious. He said you were trying to ruin his life. I suggested we have a smaller wedding, something we could actually afford. He said that was unacceptable, that he needed the big wedding for his personal brand. When I asked how we'd pay for it, he said we'd put it on credit cards and file bankruptcy after. I felt my jaw tighten. I started questioning other things. His income, his promotion, his plans to pay you back. Dad, he hasn't even applied for higher positions. He's been lying about everything. And when I confronted him, she pulled down her collar slightly, showing a bruise on her shoulder. He grabbed me. He'd never done that before. I was so shocked I grabbed my things and left. My hands were shaking. "Jessica, we need to. I already filed a police report. And I called that therapist you recommended. I have an appointment next week." She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "Dad, I'm so sorry. For everything. For excluding you, for believing him, for hurting you. You were right about everything." "Honey, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. Marcus spent 2 years convincing me that my family was holding me back, that you were too simple, too small town, too Midwest. He made me feel like I had to choose between having a sophisticated life and having you. And I'm so ashamed that I almost chose wrong." I reached across and took her hand. "You didn't choose wrong. You're here now. That's what matters." We sat there in my kitchen, in the house where she'd grown up, and slowly, she started to look like my daughter again. The next few months were hard. Jessica moved back into her old room. Marcus sent increasingly threatening messages until Tom Chen sent a cease and desist. Jessica started therapy twice a week and began working through what she called the fog Marcus had put her in. David and his family rallied around her. Emma was thrilled to have her aunt sleeping over all the time. Slowly, Jessica started to smile again, laugh again, make decisions without looking over her shoulder. One evening, 6 months after she'd come home, we were sitting on the porch watching the sunset. "Dad, I want to pay you back. For the wedding deposit." "Jessica, that money is gone. The resort kept it when the booking was canceled." "I know, but I got a second job. I'm saving. Even if it takes me 10 years, I'm going to pay back every cent." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do. Not because you're making me. Because I want to. Because you deserved better than what I gave you, and I want to make it right." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She'd gained back the weight. The circles under her eyes were gone. She met my gaze straight on. "How about this?" I said. "Take that money you're saving and put it toward your own place. Start fresh. Build something that's really yours." "Are you sure?" "Jessica, I didn't pay for that wedding because I expected the money back. I paid for it because I wanted you to be happy. The money doesn't matter. You being here, being yourself again, that matters." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I don't deserve you. You deserve the world, honey. You just forgot that for a while." A year later, Jessica had her own apartment, a promotion at work, and a circle of friends who actually supported her. She was cautiously dating again this time, a teacher named Andrew who was so nervous the first time I met him that he spilled his coffee twice. "I'm sorry, Mr. Patterson," he'd said, mopping up the second spill. Jessica talks about you a lot. It's intimidating." "I'm just her dad," I'd said. "Yeah, but she says you saved her life." I'd looked at Jessica, who was smiling at Andrew with genuine warmth, and I'd felt something in my chest loosen. David pulled me aside later. "You did good, Dad." I almost lost her. "But you didn't. You set a boundary, and it woke her up. That took guts." Now, sitting in my garage working on a dollhouse for Emma's birthday, I thought about everything that had happened. The pain, the fear, the uncertainty. The moment I'd had to choose between enabling Jessica's choices and protecting her from them. My phone buzzed. "Jessica, Dad, Andrew and I are thinking about having a barbecue this weekend. Very casual. Can you come? David's family will be there." I smiled. I'll bring dessert. Perfect. Oh, and Dad? Andrew asked if you could teach him some woodworking. He wants to make a bench for my balcony. Tell him to come over any time. After we hung up, I sat there, in the quiet of my workshop, surrounded by sawdust and half-finished projects. I thought about how close I'd come to losing Jessica to someone else's vision of who she should be, how close I'd come to funding my own exclusion from her life. But I'd set a boundary. I'd said no. And sometimes, love means letting someone fall so they can learn to stand on their own again. The dollhouse was almost done. Emma would love it. And this time, I knew exactly who would be there to see her face when she opened it. My family. All of us. Together.